Hi, my name is Hans Olsen, and I'm giving a speech on the power of one person. We all know who Albert Einstein is. He's talked about as one of the greatest humans to ever walk this earth. Many historians refer to him as the father of modern physics and science. He has a library of memorable quotes, but one stands out to me. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Because in the age of the internet, where we have the world's knowledge at our fingertips, we should be advancing as a society at rates of unheard of throughout history. When we look at how far we've come in the last 150 years, we also cannot skip over electricity's greatest pioneer, Thomas Edison, who in 1870 created the light bulb. Fast forward now, we carry around cell phones that are more powerful than the computers that were used to power mankind to get to the moon. Now, what do both of these men have in common? Most people simply know their names and imagine them as some white-haired old scientist. I mean, yes, that is probably true, but there's a more important thing. They both changed history of mankind through their innovations, and because of them, it's pretty easy to see how one person can have a greater impact on the world. So how can one person have an impact on the world? Well, even without changing the world, whether it's through science or physics or changing the history of your country through a revolution, it is still possible. A prime example of this is just simply changing how you commute to work, or really anywhere, to be more environmentally safe. Something as simple as that, by changing to carpooling or riding a bike or even walking to work, can have a profound impact. According to Harvard Business Review, Americans spend on average about 200 hours a year commuting to work, and about 3/4 of the working population drives alone. Considering 24% of global energy-related CO2 emissions come from transportation, that's a lot. Even if it's only one person, you yourself, changing your commuting habits, it's a start. And when there is a start, there is a chance for it to become something far greater. A common example that most of the class probably read through Loeb's book is the story of Paxis Kalta Star, a woman from Bulgaria who was an 18-year-old college student and saw the emissions crisis happening in her country post-Soviet Union Eastern Europe. She was 18 years old. She sat in front of the group in the government, and they just kind of saw her as this naive 18-year-old, and they respected her for having a passion, but they didn't really think much of anything that she was saying or doing. She started by herself just one day protesting out in front of the government buildings about the need for change. And within 4 months, she had 20,000 people protesting with her every single day, and in turn created the first democratically elected government in Bulgaria post-Soviet Union. To put into perspective the impact she had, it's along the lines of somebody like George Washington in American history. Now, George Washington was a founding father and led the entire country in a rebellion against the government and the Revolutionary War, but Paxis didn't create this whole new country. She simply created a better version of her country through protesting every single day, making sure her voice was heard, and doing what she cared and loved about. And with her being 18, many of you can imagine the confidence and speaking ability she had to have to get an entire country behind her to cause that kind of change. Now, individuals also can completely change the history of mankind, not just in a country. And that change in history doesn't always have to be good. There is a bad. Paxis' story is a more modern one, and most of us were taught that George Washington is arguably the greatest American leader, helping the United States become the USA. But we can also look at one evil person that everybody knows throughout history, and I'm talking about Hitler, a man who went from a broke street artist, not even living in Germany, to almost conquering the entire world in less than 20 years. He shows how much power a person can truly possess, and it's in the most morbid way possible, but still, he turned an entire democratic government into a dictatorship and got an entire population to believe that they were far superior than the rest of the world and tried to eradicate an entire religion. Now, I gotta emphasize that this is horrible, but it does show the true power that one person can possess. Now, a little bit more lighthearted, more modern day example of how one man can change the world and has nothing to do with government and power. It's Elon Musk. It is impossible to not know him. He is the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX. While he has this massive support team behind him, it is still his ideas and him pushing his imagination with the amount of knowledge and technology and power that he possesses to continuously change the world. Einstein's quote that I started the speech with, imagination is more important than knowledge, fits Elon to a T, considering the man who just recently launched astronauts to the International Space Station, separated from NASA through his own company that he founded in 2002. In 18 years, he has done that. In a time when the U.S. government has slowly defunded NASA, which, NASA has always been the most prominent space exploration company in the world. Elon took his own private company and is picking up NASA and continuing allowing mankind to push the boundaries that we have set. When one person can have such a profound impact on the world, there's often a point where they must rely on others to keep their impact felt. Someone like Steve Jobs is a good example. Steve pioneered computer technology, rivaling Bill Gates at Microsoft when they were both on the up and up, and while also pushing the edge of cell phones, creating the iPhone. I use Steve Jobs as an example in this because he has since sadly passed away, but his innovations are still being carried out by his company. And this is what I mean. He isn't relying on them to push his innovations. He's relying on them because it's his impact. He has changed those people's lives all on his own, causing these people to go and take their own individual powers, create something new, and further have an impact on somebody else. It could be anybody of you. Now, when you look at all he has accomplished and everybody else that I've talked about, I can give a lighthearted college example that, I personally have. 5 weeks ago, I jokingly asked the director of the surf hey, could we have an intramural powerlifting league? And within 4 weeks, we had a competition that had over 100 competitors, 3 faculty and staff as the judges, and a full-blown supplement company. And down the road, one of the biggest gyms in the city of Louisville is going to sponsor it at one of our next events. This was all me just with a random idea. And, sometimes I sit and I think the things that I want to do is probably stupid to other people. But that's when I started to realize that you still have to give it a chance. Even if it's stupid, somebody will listen. And you may think it's stupid, but another person may be impacted by it. Now, whether you are a founding father of the United States, a man who sends astronauts to the moon with his own private company, or me, a college student who just likes to work out, the impact that an individual can have on the world around them is unlimited. And while most of us are in our 20s and might not have a single idea what we want to do in life, you can look around and find where you have an impact on your surroundings. And this doesn't just mean the people you live with or your family. Maybe it's somebody that an act of kindness changed their day. Now I ask everybody to listen to this. Next time you have an idea, something that can change the situation, whether it's schoolwork, your life, or even just your daily mood, try to do it. Because you never know the impact that your imagination and your ideas can have on yourself, those around you, or even the world. Thank you.